Hi. Um, Welcome. Um, uh, Lighting is not great. It is nighttime. But we're here. We're doing our best. I was determined to get this video out tonight. Um, so we're gonna make the most of the lighting and the vibes. I also just finished leading a guided meditation, and it was all about embodying your inner expression of peace. And so I had to like take a little break afterwards and kind of like re reawaken myself and kind of get up and stretch and shake it off, and because I had gotten into a very sleepy, peaceful, tranquil state and still very, peaceful and grounded and everything. But yeah, so that's why we're here at almost 8:30 at night recording this video. Dedication. But no, I wanted to talk about this experience, which you'll see the title, kind of what we're looking at. But essentially, I just completed a 5-day vow of silence where my spirit team essentially called it like an initiation period, or as I'll kind of discuss more why, like a fetal period, fetal, FETAL. and and I had a lot of questions and curiosity when I kind of announced on social media that I was going to be MIA for 5 days. And so I wanted to kind of sit down and make a proper video about it, and kind of I figured it'd be the easiest way to kind of chat about my experience. There's of course going to be some elements that I'll keep private, just because they're personal details and rituals and aspects of my spiritual practice that I wish for them to remain private. But I do have a lot to chat with you about. If you haven't heard me like talk about it, which I haven't talked too much about it, essentially the reason why this initiation period, fetal period, essentially was suggested by my spirit team when I was connecting with them, was because I was kind of in this limbo state, moving into a lot of new cycles in my life, and kind of transitioning through a lot of experiences and inner growth and perspective expansions and shifts and such. And I was motivated, I was working on things, but it was kind of, it felt very liminal, limbo kind of state where I wasn't necessarily at my 100% best. And basically my spirit team was talking to me, and I was kind of asking about it, and for guidance and what was going on, and just kind of normal spirit guide check-ins, And they basically suggested this as a way to support me in kind of, I guess, moving through some of this energy more efficiently, making use of the energy that I was kind of releasing and shedding, you could say, with more awareness, and being very like zoned in, and like diving kind of deep into really understanding what I was releasing, why I was releasing it, and kind of taking some very introspective time, and using that energy to kind of through the, you know, through the power of awareness and consciousness, essentially kind of transmute that which I was shedding and releasing, and be very intentional and self-aware about what I was replacing that energy with and bringing in, and taking this 5-day period to really zone in, dive deep, and really explore that, and make sure that I was kind of releasing and stepping forward on my best foot, I guess you could say, and really just maximizing the impact. And also just if you, in your own spiritual journey, when you're dealing with cycles and experiences and inner growth and such like that, the more self-aware you are of what exactly is going on, the easier it is to kind of move through the experience with a lot more ease, I guess you could say. Stay tuned to my webinar about navigating self-mastery through nuance. I feel like that was a little blurb basically from the one of the points in the webinar. Sorry, my dog is very excited about going under the blankets and is moving my journal all over the place. But yeah, so that was essentially kind of why it was brought up, and why I also, I didn't just hear, oh, you need to take a 5-day vow of silence. And I was just like, oh, cool. And, I always I'm very curious. I like to work with that energy of curiosity a lot. So, of course I ask questions. So that's also why I, chose to go through it. Please do not knock over my journal. Cold boy. Okay. So some of the kind of, I guess, parameters of it was kind of think about when you're kind of a fetus and you're floating around in a womb. You're not really hearing a whole lot. Everything's kind of garbled, and you can't speak, and you're kind of in this kind of cocoon stage. Like, you're very nurtured. There's not a whole lot of, you don't have all the TV and cars driving past, and dogs and cats causing chaos in the foreground, and there's not all these other interactions. So you're very much just like connected with your inner essence and inner being, and there's not a lot of stimulus, essentially, metaphorically, in essence, essentially. So that meant, of course, I took a vow of silence. So not to say that I didn't laugh or make noises or something like that at all, but for the most part, I took a vow of silence, which included like texting and stuff like that, with the exception of like I could shoot a GIF or something to somebody, which, occasionally I did, or I would send a picture of something. I had to be strategic, but it was just an opportunity to really unplug. I wasn't on my phone too much, besides, pulling up YouTube for a meditation track or something like that. Or I used my notes app, some little things for work that are always going on. My kitten is very nosy about what I'm doing. So that was kind of the vibe for that. I did like sing some soul language or light language some. There were some occasional times where I live with my husband, my partner, and so occasionally I had to say something. Sometimes I just, living together, occasionally there are things you just have to ask or say. So there was a few times, but I kept it very minimal. And I also, wasn't really using media. I wasn't using any social media. I was pretty much only allowed to watch but like certain documentaries and videos like of that nature, and certain like I was like doing some research on some topics and stuff. So certain YouTube videos, I would pull up YouTube for like certain breath work or meditation videos that I use, or um, music apps, that kind of thing. But so not really on media like that, wasn't watching TV or movies too much. I also was being very intentional and conscious about what I ate. Wasn't really eating like too much like sweets for the most part, or if I was, it was something very intentional. I was being very intentional while I cooked and while I ate. So that kind of idea. Um, I also was doing a lot of meditating and just silent reflection and journaling and things like that. I don't think I left the house. No, I didn't leave the house besides like my backyard and stuff like that. So I was staying home. I was, if my partner put something on that was too entertaining or something, I would go hang out in the bedroom and read or journal or something like that. Like nothing too crazy. So that was like the general gist. And I didn't have any sessions scheduled during that time. I didn't really work too much, besides sending out a newsletter and something and a couple of things like that on the very last day. But for the most part, it was really all, it was the main goal was for me to be going inward and being very intentional, self-reflective, and self-aware. So, was working out with my spirit team and going up in the astrals into my Akashic office, all that good stuff. So that was essentially kind of like what was going on for 5 days. So that was Friday to Tuesday. Yeah. So for those who don't want to sit and hear all the little details and don't want a crazy long video, I'm going to read a page out of my journal that kind of gives it doesn't give all, it's not the 360-degree summary, but it gives a nice kind of summary of some of the reflection and the insight I gained from the experience. So if you want the summarized version, I'm gonna give you this, and then I'll go into just give a mini summary of each day and some things that I did and what happened and such like that. So this is what I wrote after the period when I was reflecting. I'm realizing how much resistance I have to talking about myself and how that leads to talking about more general topics or sometimes not saying anything at all. I didn't suddenly become a new person after this experience, but it was a much needed recentering and perspective shift. I reflected on how every time I come into confidence in who I am and what I do, I've experienced perceived punishment from others, and truly reflecting on the details of that experience, how it impacted me, other perspectives and views of the situations, and really narrowed in on how that has impacted my ability to be excited about sharing myself. That has been difficult to work through over recent months because I value community perspective so much as a tool for growth and nuance. I also consider everyone's perspective to be a reflection of the sphere of truth, and what's true for them feels true and essentially is true for them. And also that truth is very dynamic and fluctuates and grows and evolves and changes from our unique perspective over time. So I spent a lot of time reconnecting with my own truth, my perspective, and my values so that I can reinforce who I am. I'm allowed to be private about certain things because that's something I value. I'm also allowed to share parts of who I am and my experiences because that's also something I value as a student and a teacher. I had to remind myself that I always teach the value of honoring our inner contradictions because it's what makes us unique and exceptional. So I had to revisit those inner contradictions and reorient them into my values and goals moving forward so that I can step forward a more authentic and joyful me. So that's essentially, I guess, a good takeaway from the experience. Yeah, I do have my journal because otherwise we'll be here all day and we don't want that. Links in the background. I'm just going to kind of use this to give some like little summaries. Day one, I kind of took things really slow and kind of eased into this kind of experience. And to be fair, this is not really an extrovert's guide to silence because I'm sure that would be a very different video. I guess I'm more ambivert. Like I can be very extroverted around people that really inspire me and such, and I do like to talk, but I can also be very much a homebody, very introverted, and I really value alone time and reflection and introspection and solitude. So, it was not the worst to ease into. But I kind of had a slow morning. I took a ritualistic shower, not bath, but with some different sprays and pro tip, carve your bars of soap like you would a candle. Excellent. So I did like some things like that and took a very ritualistic bath or shower to kind of start off the day and start off the initiation period. And I cooked a nice big breakfast. I think it was like rice and eggs and bacon and a smoothie kind of thing. I did watch some specific YouTube videos. I also started my mornings with breath work and a kind of energy work routine that kind of helps reharmonize and balance everything. And yeah, I watched some specific YouTube videos for some research and kind of private projects I was working on essentially. And really one of the main things I did that day was I spent a lot of time, I had cleaned myself, but I also took some time and opened my back door, let some fresh air in because it was a really pretty day. I folded clothes, I straightened up, I reorganized and kind of also reset and refreshed the energy in the home. I did some smoke cleansing and some things like that. I also did a card reading to kind of better understand once I was in the fetal period, I guess, understand what the experience was going to be like. And I'm going to share like a little bit of the reading. So I had asked, who am I now? And I got the Tower card, which was very funny. Essentially like in a state of dissolving and transmutation. removing distractions to see with clarity. And I asked, who will I be throughout this process? And I got the world card reversed. And so for me, that symbolized starting a new cycle, being, I had put it beautifully, selfish, and reconnecting with myself and disconnecting with the world and just kind of going inward. And then I asked, who will I be at the end of this? And I thought it was funny that I pulled the Hermit card. And for me, that symbolized being at peace with my journey, which is funny because I just remembered we did peace in the guided meditation today. Reveling in solitude and recommitted to my craft. And looking back now, I can definitely resonate with that quite a bit. And I have kind of like realized that this is something that I actually want to continue doing. And as part of my reflection after leaving this process, I basically committed to, as much as is possible, because sometimes life happens, I want to kind of have a similar kind of thing where I disconnect from social media, maybe vow of silence, maybe a little looser, and go inward every Monday. And as much as possible, that's my plan. And to also do these longer 5 to 7 day periods, maybe every other month or so, just because I really resonated and felt really inspired by the experience. I had a lot of creative juices going, and I think it would be beneficial to do it and more often and integrate it into part of my spiritual practice, at least for now, as long as it resonates, which also I have a Saturn return coming up. So yeah, so I thought it was funny that I pulled the Hermit card for me after the period, not for one of the cards of during, because that would have made more sense, you think. But I do agree with it, and the energy, and do feel like in a lot of ways that does kind of symbolize one aspect of myself that I'm more enjoying embodying and being more open about. So yeah, I had asked some other questions. I don't want to go into like all of them. But that was kind of like, that was a funny and interesting kind of thing. But I did pull like several questions and kind of just to get some insight and some kind of things I should focus on, things I should avoid, activities I should include, and things like that. I also started at the end of each day, most days, asking myself, who am I today? And the first day of this, I said, peaceful, present, in tune with my environment, introspective, beautiful, tired, insightful, sensitive. I am becoming. Day 2, I did some dream journaling and interpretation. That's kind of how I started the day. Did my breath work and stuff like that. Fixed a really good breakfast, which was something I tried to intentionally do each day. Things like that. And I also did a candle spell on day 2. And it was a little more of an intricate candle spell than I normally do. But it was essentially, and I did this spell, it took 2 days for it to finish. So it went through the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, but obviously I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but essentially it was a transmutation working. And so a part of it was a certain candle for what I was to help with the energy of what I was releasing during this time, and then some other candles circling it, about what I was bringing in, embodiments. And it was really beautiful because I burned the center candle till about half, 2/3 down before lighting the ones around it because they were smaller. And the candle wax perfectly connected to each one in a radius around it, and actually physically connected through the melted wax to each one, in a very even and radiant way. And it just was really rewarding, I guess, to see. I also came up with a transmutation blend that could be used as like a loose incense or to like dress candles with, that I really like. It was good, y'all. Let me know if y'all are interested. I might make like a mini batch for the site or something, because it was nice. Day 3. Oh, this is day 2 still. Oh, I did want to read the embodiments. They were I am statements, and I did want to read those. And that was: I am compassion, I am curiosity, I am love, I am trust, and I am awareness. Yeah. Day 3, I woke up later. The energy from the candle working was, I could feel it working through me during the night and based on some of my dreams and stuff. So I think some of that was why I woke up so late. But it was also when the time changed. Plus my partner was home. So that was definitely a more difficult day for navigating the vow of silence. But fortunately, they had a lot of projects to work on. So that helps. I finished the candle spell. Oh, I forgot to mention I was dizzy almost every single day, which was, I did rule out some more physical issues. And I was also like eating very well and intentionally and stuff like that. Very hydrated. Like I said, I ruled out through different means. Physical stuff, my team basically said some of it was because of the energy of the experience. But that day, I think I was like particularly dizzy. I put that I was feeling very contemplative and a bit tired. I did a lot of journaling that day. I watched some documentaries. I had talked to my team and met with them and did meditation every single day. I didn't always like put it specifically in the journal, but that day I spent more time journaling and meditating and talking with my spirit team. And I did some journaling about, if finances and social perception didn't matter, how would I navigate life? And I did some bullet points and talked about that for a while. Some of those things were travel to mountains, islands, cities, meet with others, and teach in different areas. Go on week or month-long periods of solitude. Paint energy. Be more concise. Lots of different things. Live on a mountain. Be unafraid to disagree. Be gently reckless and trusting. Yeah, those are just a few of little things. Write a book, stuff like that. I also did a lot of journaling. I talked about this in my Patreon collective energy updates, if you're a part of that. But I did this journaling process of really diving deep, getting really specific and nuanced about anything and everything that I consider to be a shadow aspect of myself, which was, of course, so much fun. And that took a while, and it's very introspective. deep emotional process. Definitely make sure you're in a good mental state for that kind of thing. But I really poured into that for a while. And then I also did the same for aspects that I considered to be, instead of my shadow aspects, my light aspects. And it's funny because that was almost harder than the shadow aspects. But I did that and really explored that. That, like I said, that was almost more difficult and almost took more thought and process. And for me, sometimes it's easier to be hard on ourselves than to illuminate what's light within ourselves. And so I poured a lot of time and energy into that. And, I've been doing shadow work and self reflection and stuff for years, but there's always something new. There's always a new perspective, a new depth, a new lens. So I really poured into that. And then they really had me kind of compare and contrast and look between the two. And like I was saying in the collective energy thing update, it was funny how many of the things contradicted each other. I gave the example of one of the shadow aspects of like, I'm human. Sometimes I will give a little white lie instead of having a uncomfortable conversation. Sometimes, especially with like strangers or something like that. Not something that's frequent, but I'm human, it happens. But then also on the light side, I had put that I'm always striving to be a very honest and authentic me. And so that was just one of a lot of examples of how often they contradict each other and how it's not always one or the other, but really just a merging and a fusion of both. And that's kind of what gives us our uniqueness and personality, and just kind of dissolving another layer of kind of polarity perspective, I guess you could say, and inviting more awareness and nuance and complexity into my life and allowing me to be more complex. And so I'd also journaled about what I learned from it and all that good stuff. So that and a lot of meditation and, stuff was kind of the focus of that day. And then day 4, woke up, did my routine, had breakfast, folded some more clothes. And then that day, they had me focusing a lot on like how I express myself through my business, Seekers Evolving, and that kind of mindset. So they had me watching some like business YouTubes about ways of like organization and structuring things and be more efficient with time and, those kind of fun things, marketing, not even so much marketing, but like things like tips for making Instagram stories more aesthetic or more easy or something like that. Those kind of things. They also had me do some reflection on who is my ideal client. Like what are some qualities and traits of my ideal client. I am going to, and also the embodiments and of essentially the same thing, but for my ideal embodiment as a teacher on the other end for me. And so I do think I'm gonna do a blog post about that and kind of go into more detail and kind of list some of them. But that was a really interesting process for me, actually. And it was interesting to get more specific and detailed with that, because normally I'm just like, well, I trust that, the universe, my spirit team, etc., that I'll be led to whoever I'm meant to, and that things will unfold as they're meant to, and very Pisces and da 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 da. So it was an interesting exercise to be more specific and detailed about that. And I felt like I learned a lot about myself and kind of how I want to move forward and integrate some different ideas and stuff into my business from that. And yes, stay tuned to like a blog post on my site under the Seeker Scrolls about that soon. That day, I thought that was the 5th. No. I also, like I said, I was doing a lot of journaling over this process. I also went through and cataloged about 60-ish spirit team members, their name, their role, like, and then any like little things that popped up about them, or like things that they wanted to help me work with more. And they were really talking to me about being more intentional about asking for their support and help with doing things, and remembering I don't always have to do everything on my own, and that's why they're there, and different things like that. So they were like, also, like I said, sharing with me each one about some things that they would specifically be excited to help me with, and that were things that they were really good at supporting with. And I've done this with some of my main spirit team members, but not anywhere near 60. So that took a lot of energy, and that was a lot. But it was really helpful and insightful, and I definitely have been going back and referencing this and specifically using it to be like, oh, I would like some support with this. Let me go see who would be, the best to help with, and I'll make sure I specifically call on them. It's been fun to get more intentional and detailed and specific with that in like a healthy and inspiring way, I guess you could say. Yeah, that was, like I said, it was like 60. That took a long time, plus all the other journaling and meditation and stuff from the day. And then finally, day 5, I still woke up and did my routine and such, but and I was also doing a lot of like burn bowl rituals every day, to help anything that like came up for me that there was resistance to, or fear, or anything like that around. I would like immediately go and I had like strips of paper cut out, and I got into the habit of just consistently going and like, as soon as something would come up, going and writing it down and burn bowling it. And that happened throughout pretty much the whole 5 days. But I think I was doing a good bit about that. The 5th day, I was doing some dancing and just kind of getting in my body. And I put on here that I spent most of the day really sinking into silence and savoring that last day. I was in meditation most of the morning and early afternoon. And I also got like a lot of energy work done by my spiritual surgeon team, which I can talk more about that in another video or blog post or something, if that would be interesting. But yeah, they basically, on that 5th day, I had released pretty much what needed to be released, or what was meant to be at that time, and they were supporting me with stepping in with new fresh me after the fetal period. And so that knocked me out, and I pretty much went and got in the bed. But it was interesting because I sat and watched each of them doing different things during the energetic surgery, essentially. And I knew some of the names that I didn't know beforehand, and that was a really interesting experience to watch in that way. And I put on here because I thought it was funny, because I use angel numbers and numerology a little bit, but not excessively. But I thought it was funny that I saw myself, because there was a clock that comes up on my TV, and I saw myself falling asleep at 2:22 p.m. I woke back up at 3:33, and then I laid in bed, kind of coming back to awareness after that nap. until 4:04. And then I went and took a shower and did some cleansing and stuff to really help me kind of recenter and settle back into after those energetic updates and shifts and such, and that healing. So, and then I think I just read and meditated and just kind of enjoyed the rest of that period for the rest of the day. And that fifth day, I ended with asking myself, who am I today? And I said, today I am experiencing peace with my presence, enjoying the sensations of my body, and filled with hope. So it was a good time. Overall, I really am glad I did it. I was trying to see, I had also had some notes on my phone as I would think of things things that I was realizing and during the process, how emotive my body language is, how often I talk to my pets, how nice it is to sit and eat without distraction or media, how present I feel in each moment and more at peace I am with the passage of time, how still my mind actually is and can be, without a lot of projects to do, essentially. My relationship to fear was a big topic. The transmutation incense blend. Oh, I also worked out a new technique to use for my energy weaving and energy healing, as a method of transmuting certain energies and specifically like the imprints of like some traumatic experiences and stuff. So I definitely am going to play around with that some more, and hopefully after fine tuning and playing with it, incorporating it into my soul weaving energy healing session. So that and a lot of other things. Like this was a summary. I know this still ended up being a long video, as much as I tried not for it to be, but it was a really good time. I enjoyed it as much as you would think someone could enjoy being quiet for 5 days. But it was very rewarding and enriching. And like I said in the summary at the beginning, it's not like on day 6 when I left that vow of silence, all of a sudden I was a totally new person, because still Carrie, but definitely felt recentered, renewed, a very subtle but noticeable shift in perspective and kind of momentum. So I'm actually excited to see in coming weeks and such as this really kind of integrates and settles in, how it goes. But damn, you sat and watched this whole video. I appreciate you. Thank you. I hope that this inspired you or was entertaining or was insightful or something. But yeah, drop a comment if there's something you'd like to hear me talk about more or give insight about. Trying to share more of my personal experiences and insights and step into this more embodied, authentic expression of myself. Thank you. I love you. Have a good night. Bye.